Hello, I'm Nelson Bird, and welcome to Reaching Out, Indigenous Circle in the South Pacific. I'm standing on the shores of Fiji, located in the South Pacific, about 6,000 kilometers southwest of Vancouver. When people think of this area, they automatically think of white sandy beaches and fancy resorts. But tonight we'll go beyond that. We'll look at the indigenous peoples of the South Pacific and see the similarities and differences of those of First Nations Canadians. When we return, we'll take you to the South Pacific. For Vili Makanawi, drinking kava is as normal as a cup of tea to an Englishman.
It has been here all along. There are various types of kava, and we drink. The one we drink is the one that is locally grown.
Kava is indigenous to the South Pacific. It's a drink used for both ceremony and leisure. The murky liquid comes from the root of the kava plant. It is strained and poured into a large bowl. Outsiders say it looks and tastes like dishwater. Everyone here knows it is about more than taste.
Kava signifies our unity to the land. Fijians, as indigenous people, they are tied up to the land.
As in ceremonies of many indigenous people, there is an order to special occasions. Here, local chiefs, elders, and dignitaries sit in a circle. They drink first. Women and children sit nearby, watching. The clapping is their way of saying thank you to the Creator for the land, their health, and other blessings. Ceremonies may vary from island to island in the South Pacific, but the purpose remains the same. It's all about tradition. Practice from village halls to people's homes. Modern science labels it a drug, a narcotic. For these villagers, it's simply a part of life.
Drinking kava is for relaxation, especially in a Fijian occasion where ceremonial gatherings occur or where there is a meeting. People drink kava.
Viti Levu is one of 320 islands which make up Fiji. The South Pacific is really 15 island nations. Each country is made up of islands which are home to anywhere from a few people to a few thousand. Tourists associate the area with white sandy beaches and clear blue water. The topography is a mix of mountains and farmland. The weather ranges from extreme rain to an arid climate. The South Pacific is a land of contrast, not always evident to visitors, mesmerized by sand and sea. On this evening, Vili Makanawi and Titilia Nakarawa are visiting Titilia's village on the northern tip of Viti Levu, Fiji's largest island. They come from opposite ends of Fiji, Vili, a law student, Titilia, an entrepreneur who owns several successful businesses. What unites them? Their pride in their culture, their indigenous heritage. Titilia recently moved back to her village to start a fast food outlet. She sells fish and kava. No burgers here. The local elder also owns land and a ferry business.
I was brought up in the city, from town to the city. And when I'm retired and I come back home and I live in this rural area, and it seems things completely different.
Titilia's friendly, outgoing personality is typical of the indigenous people of the South Pacific. What sets her apart is her independence. Most Fijian women are content to live in the shadows of a male-driven society.
It's not really a problem because our way of life, we were brought up into that system. So it's just a normal thing to do.
Not Titilia, she'll make her own decisions.
I don't rely on my husband's decision or somebody else's decision. I make my own decision. And I know if it's the right thing to do, and then I do it.
Slowly, women are finding a voice in South Pacific life. They are tribal chiefs, they're in business, and are found in politics. Some may even be elected to parliament. Still, men are the primary decision makers who gain power through either democratic elections or family ties.
There is a biblical belief that chiefs are from God. They are chosen by the God, and that is why, and they use that ideology to suppress the people.
The gap is often wide between those with power and those without. The imbalance breeds frustration, often bitterness.
Nothing has to do with the economy of the people. It's those people that fight for greed and for power that were able to suppress those people and deny them their lifetime.
Politics and power aside, rural life for most is simple, communal in nature. Everyone knows each other, no one goes hungry, and homelessness is out of the question.
That if you don't have sugar and then you don't have money to buy, well, the next door neighbor will give it. They must make sure that you survive.
Like First Nations people elsewhere, elders are vital to the culture and spirituality of the community.
You are there to help, like when you, with the old people, you know, when they need help, you are there to help.
Help, when it is needed, isn't just the responsibilities of families and communities. 6,000 kilometers away, one Canadian agency works tirelessly to raise awareness of the island paradise, its people, and its problems.
Pacific People's Partnership.
In Victoria, BC, a small downtown office is home to the Pacific People's Partnership. The non-governmental organization has been around for over 25 years.
Most people, most Canadians, when they think about the Pacific, think about white sands and surf. And we know through all of our work in the Pacific that there is real poverty there, that there are human rights abuses, that there's civil war.
Over the years, the Pacific People's Partnership has sent dozens of staff and interns to the South Pacific. The interns are mostly First Nation students who spend months on the islands living with and learning about the Indigenous people of the South Pacific.
There's lots of commonalities in terms of the experiences that Aboriginal peoples face in Canada and in the Pacific. And there's lots of commonalities in terms of the innovative struggles, in terms of the ways in which people in their communities are trying to bring about change.
Struggle and change, two words common in the language of all Indigenous people. When we return, lives in balance in the South Pacific. It doesn't matter where you are. On a hot day, a river or pond is a magnet for children, happy, carefree. The struggles of their parents lost to play. The village of Vanuatu is a gold mine, literally, but you wouldn't know it by looking at the homes of the workers. The Emperor Gold Mine is at the heart of this village.
The company tried to overrule everything, or the rights of the workers or the rights of the people here. They tried to overrule them.
The glitter of gold fades quickly here. Vanuatu is also the site of one of the world's longest running labor disputes. Dozens of workers off the job for 13 years. The mine is still producing gold, but
The workers are at present, they are scrap laborers.
okay.
We are the real workers of the mine because we are on strike.
Striking workers live here, some in shacks, others in barracks which accommodate families. Conditions are primitive.
I feel pain, wounded, frustrated, and it's like a dog being hunted by a group of dogs.
The conditions are in sharp contrast to the well-groomed golf club across the road, where mine executives putt for par on manicured greens. Loss and desperation are evident in their songs. The workers are a patient lot. They know there's more at stake here than a contract. It's also about a better future for their children. Many here fear if they don't lose their children to the mine, they will lose them to an equally forbidding place, the city. City life is a magnet for many young people, whether in Canada or the South Pacific. The rural lifestyle is not enough. The city beckons, but dreams of fortune and fame can be quickly dashed. Jobs are few. In the city, homelessness is a reality. Many are left to shine shoes.
The reason why they're on the streets shining every day from morning till the afternoon is to make some bucks to feed themselves. That's all.
For some, there is hope. Brother Gerald Warbrook runs the Chevalier Boys Home in Suva, the capital of Fiji.
And then we look after boys from broken homes, and after the street kids, we give them night shelter. Every night they're expected to be home off the streets by 8 o'clock.
The home accommodates up to 24 boys. Some live at the shelter, others only use it as a place to sleep. The ones who live here can go to school or work outside the shelter. But everyone pitches in around the house.
Since they come from broken families, it's a little bit difficult to go back to the village. The only reason being they won't be accepted back. So there's rejection from at village level.
Brother Gerald is a father figure to the boys. He doesn't sugarcoat the problems or the solutions. His words are encouraging, tempered in the knowledge life on the streets is difficult. Some will find good jobs, some won't. Others will end up in prison.
Well, basically they'll just live on the streets. A prison won't be too far away. Some of our kids have been to prison already, and many of them have also, have had court cases.
Here, the saying "boys will be boys" is never more true. It's all about rugby, the national sport of the South Pacific. It's played everywhere, from city streets to remote villages, and in all kinds of weather.
It is a man's game, a boy's game. I mean, if you don't play rugby as a young kid, you're not a man. As if it's a passage of right.
So much so, that rite of passage is part of the school curriculum. Students are also taught basic education skills, as well as practical things like hygiene and, of course, rugby. Best efforts aren't always enough. The dropout rate is high. In some cases, it's lack of interest that drives children from school, but often it's the distance to the school that is the impediment. Children in rural communities may have to walk up to 6 kilometers or more. Distance isn't only a challenge in school. Sharing island news and stories can also be difficult. Fiji One Television is the only network available. It broadcasts throughout the South Pacific. Unfortunately, people living on remote islands don't have televisions. Getting the message out is left to a few radio stations and several newspapers, but the process is slow. Devnad Carney teaches journalism at the University of the South Pacific. He says the media does a fairly good job at covering general news.
But there's very little being done in terms of the issues which affect Indigenous people. From the analytical point of view, there might be reports, just a statement of facts of what things happen, but nobody does any kind of in-depth searching in any of the media. There is little funding to have Indigenous programming. So where do you break the circle? And until you do not have Indigenous programming, you cannot really reach out to all the outlying areas.
Where the media does not reach, one small bag is sure to go. On this day, the theater group is rehearsing a play on coastal issues.
Some people are aware, but as in here in Vanuatu, a lot of people don't own radios, they don't have TVs, no videos. And when we get to them, it's like something really new, and they get all the message that we give them.
The theater troupe has been around for 10 years. They're based in Port Vila, the capital of Vanuatu. They travel the world raising awareness on issues affecting Indigenous people.
We're trying to make people aware of the things around them, like we're not forcing, don't do this, don't do that. We're just giving them the different sides of two things, like forests and cutting off logs and things like that.
The cast of One Small Bag know the issues well. They are all Indigenous peoples of Vanuatu. Joe Doras writes for the theater troupe. She's from England, yet she's able to capture the issues and emotions of the islanders.
You hope that the theatre has some effect, especially on issues such as protecting yourself, protected sex, and some understanding of the dangers of some substance abuse. But you can't change the fact that 90% of people are unemployed and that work opportunities don't really exist.
It's a dilemma confronting Indigenous peoples around the world, their economies unable to sustain current and future generations, creating a tomorrow of uncertainty and loss. Reaching Out, Indigenous Circle in the South Pacific will return right after these messages. Getting around by boat has never been a problem for Pakon Bong. He lives on Ambrim Island, one of over 83 islands which make up Vanuatu. Ambrim is dotted with villages like this one. No electricity, phones, or running water here. No one seems to mind.
Life in the village is it's free. It's free. Sometimes when you get up in the morning, if you like going to the garden, you can go to the garden. And sometimes you can go fishing. We go to the sea to fish. Anything that we want, we can go, but we are not led by anybody else.
Beyond the carefree lifestyles, a menace hovers. And it's not the active volcano that towers over the island. Vanuatuans have learned to live with that. Globalization, however, is slowly changing the traditional lives of these people. It's not the first time. Long ago, another civilization washed ashore. The people of the South Pacific would endure years of colonial influence and cultural oppression, all in the pursuit of wealth and in the name of Christianity.
We've chased out the colonial powers in the 1980, but now these people are coming back. They are coming back in not the same uniform as they were, like the traders. They're coming in different uniforms.
A tourist uniform may not seem menacing, but it represents the challenge facing the South Pacific and its move away from tradition and spirituality in the new South Pacific. Everything has a price. Dances like this are rarely seen, not even by Indigenous people. On this day, tourists pay to watch. If you don't pay, you don't watch. Tam-tams are age-old sculptures used to signify a family status in the community, much like the totem poles found on Canada's west coast. They were also used for communication. Each has its own codes. Today, they are only made to be sold.
The carvings were not sold before. They were used in certain types of ceremony. And now these carvings are just used for commercialize.
Pakon cautions his people against selling off their culture, their identity. He's part of the Lolihor Youth Awareness Team. Their goal is to bring about change by making people aware of all issues affecting them.
We will try our every best to make sure that these people, through the customs, the custom issue, we would like people to go back into the custom.
There are some constants here. Food preparation is one. The Indigenous people of the South Pacific eat a lot of vegetables, fruit, fish, and chicken. Here, the village is a supermarket. Pigs and chickens run free, and fruits grow everywhere.
So we normally eat root crops such as ndalo, kumala, yams, tapioca, with, say, for example, fish or pig.
But traditional food is not always available in the city. Healthy, homegrown food is given way to fast food restaurants.
We seem to eat that type of food, and that leads to sickness, such as diabetes, heart attack. I mean, that is not the case 20 years ago.
When Titilia Nakarawa looks back 20 years, she's aware of the changes around her.
What we used to do is a labor, now that everything is done with computers. A big change.
Mixed in with change, politics, which has evolved to a new and some say confusing level.
Most of the countries there gained their independence only a few years ago, and so they're still trying to free themselves of the legacy of colonialism.
There's been 2 major and violent coups in Fiji in the last 15 years. Today, a new government of indigenous people has replaced the governments of the past. There is tension here. People are at odds over land and resources.
The Fijians own the land, and most of them live on their particular land, whether it be near the sea or up on highlands, and they maintain that. And they are themselves guardian of those lands. And as generation comes, those generations follow the traditions of their father's culture and tradition.
I think all over the world, they should have the right to preserve, for them, what is theirs. What belongs to them, the land belongs to them, should preserve that.
Preservation is also the key to survival of indigenous cultures. Education is key, although it can cut 2 ways, as we have seen in Canadian First Nations communities.
If you are educated or whether you're a graduate and then you come back home, you sort of, you don't want to be, to feed into their lifestyle.
What we have to do at the moment, in my view, is that we have to make links and make forums where indigenous people, irrelevant of their ethnicity or creed, have to come together and exchange ideas that will help them.
Some of that effort will start with the people of the South Pacific. Some will originate elsewhere.
We feel that by bringing people together, like journalists from Canada, with Indigenous peoples in the Pacific, we can share those stories of success, failure where it's appropriate, and work with communities to strengthen their struggles for change.
When you come back in a few years' time, come and see Fiji, oh, this is the place I've been to, and it's a big difference now.
Our journey to the South Pacific has come to an end, but for the indigenous peoples here, life will go on. As they continue to forge ahead with their traditional lifestyles, they know that modern technology will play a major role in their future. Whether it's good or bad, they will survive it, as long as the knowledge and wisdom is passed on to future generations. I'm Nelson Bird. Thanks for watching. Good night.